So,
Absolutely.
okay, we're going to, we have started the recording. Thank you, VeeCee Spear, for being here. We're going to learn about Medicaid and eligibility and what it takes and all that good stuff. So I'll turn it over to VeeCee, and VeeCee, feel free to let us know a little bit more about what you do, because you do more than just Medicaid. So thank you, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Am I muted? No?
No, we can hear you.
Okay, very good. I am VeeCee Spear, and I think that I am a Medicaid expert. I have now, I worked for the state of Texas in the Medicaid program for 20 years. And then since I retired, I've been working in Medicaid for various attorneys for the last 12 years. I am working for law firms because that's what the law says, that you cannot give Medicaid advice unless you're working for a law firm or you are a law firm. And that's incredibly important because everyone likes to think they know a little bit about Medicaid, and that's what they know, is a little bit. And it's unfortunate when someone is giving you advice that doesn't know the rules. And we see people come to our office and they're like 6 or 8 months or maybe a year down the road trying to get Medicaid for their family member. And unfortunately, it didn't work out for them. And now they've already been out a year's worth of money struggling with this and still don't have the care they need or the or understand what the options really are. And at our firm, we have a team that works with every family. We have Keith, who unfortunately was unable to be here with us today. And and we also have Mike Smith, who does not work for the firm, but he offices in our building, and he is on our team because he speaks to financial. And I can tell you what the rules are, but in order for you to be able to carry out the requirements, it many times involves someone that knows the financial rules, and that's what Mike does for us and for our clients and our families. And you have to meet requirements in several different ways for the Medicaid program. For nursing facilities to get Medicaid, you have to remember that it has to be a Medicaid certified bed that you're requesting. There's many different requirements for Medicaid, but you always have to be in a facility and in a Medicaid certified bed. You have to meet medical necessity, which is something that I do not do because we don't have a medical, excuse me, individual on our team and will not. And the facility is not always quite as adept at getting those certifications because there's a myth out there that you have to have dementia to get medical necessity. And I have been working in Medicaid since before everyone had dementia. But if you have medical issues that are not dementia related, there is certainly a qualification that you can meet. Many times we get the doctors to actually write an order for that individual that requires 24-hour care. So there are a lot of difficulties going on. And then when I worked for Medicaid, we were sued by the attorneys that we were practicing law without a license giving Medicaid advice when we were Medicaid eligibility workers and knew the rules. So there's a lot of people out there that think they know the rules and they don't. And So you always need to seek your advice from a law firm. And our firm always gives everyone, every family, the opportunity to come in, bring your legal documents, sit down and chat with us. And we do not charge a fee for your consult. We can tell you, we can analyze your particular situation because everyone is different. And we have the ability to know what your options are, give you your options, and let you make the decision that's best for your family members, because obviously we can't do that for you. There are many obstacles. Medicaid does have some limitations on income, which is your monthly checks that are coming into your home. Aside from resources, you only look at like your Social Security check, your pension check, that sort of thing. You have to look at those. And this year, the cap is $2,523 for each individual, or $5,046 for a couple. So, but once more, that's the cap. But because cost of care is on an average $7,138, if you have $2,600 coming into your home, you still don't have enough money to pay $7,136. So there is still an option for you. There is a way to get around the rules provide for a way for you to avoid the cap on the income. So keep that in mind as well. We have a way to bypass that. And the resource, which is any kind of liquid asset that you have, whether it's a stock account, your bank account, your savings, CDs, it doesn't matter. IRAs are typically liquid. So we take an overall look and see where you are. 2,000 is not very much, but you don't have to spend all your money on your care to qualify for Medicaid. Medicaid allows gifting. So we can work with you and your family to reduce the amount of assets that you have, to create an irrevocable trust for your assets to go into, and then you can still qualify for Medicaid. When we're in a gifting penalty, you still get Medicaid. You just have to pay your daily rate. And so we can help you with that. We can help you with your trust, and with Keith will explain your trust to you totally. He will help you to understand exactly what the rules are on trust. He will sit with you and explain that as long as you need an explanation, let me tell you. And then we're always available by phone if you get home and you forget something. We always welcome your calls, and as many as you need, because we want you to understand the programs. And there's another type of situation in Medicaid where you have a couple and one spouse goes into the facility and the other one remains at home, or maybe they live in an independent living community. Then the one that needs the 24-hour care, we actually have the ability to, Medicaid rules provide that we can transfer those assets. We look at the whole picture. Half belongs to one spouse and half belongs to the other, but Medicaid allows us to gift the institutionalized spouse's money to the other one. So we can do that for you, and we deal with large sums of money on many occasions, because you don't know how long the community spouse needs the money to last for their care. And Texas has specific rules that provide for that spouse that remains in the community to have enough assets to provide for their care as long as that might be. So it's the rules are really strange. Unfortunately for me, I think I remember rules and and every situation is different. That's why we invite you to come and let us look at your situation, at your assets, and we can set up a plan for your family that doesn't work for anyone else because they're all different, but they have the same provision. And what we typically do to transfer the institutionalized spouse, we can transfer their assets by buying short-term annuities. And when I say short-term, I mean really short-term. A lot of times they're 2 months. You can spend down and meet the Medicaid qualifications, and then the spouse that remains at home gets all the money back within 2 months. Depending on the values, sometimes we have to do 6-month annuities, but we don't go beyond that. And be wary of anyone that recommends a lifetime annuity for you, because a Medicaid compliant annuity must have a residuary beneficiary to the state of Texas. And that means any type of expenditure that Medicaid has provided for you will come out of that at your death. So those are something to be very wary of. Attorneys don't usually recommend those, but some financial planners think they know Medicaid rules, and they sell you these lifetime annuities that they get commission off of every month. And so they're not looking out for your well-being, because those do have that residuary beneficiary to the state of Texas. So any kind of expenditures can come out of that. So that's not going to last you forever. It is not available for you. If you have a family emergency or something, you cannot get that back. The way we set them up, it goes to the community spouse. It's there, it's available after 2 months, and you have full control of those assets. And that is incredibly important. It's important to your family. If you want to set up a trust, an irrevocable trust, and put your assets in that, we can also help you with that, because there's a 5-year look back in transfers outside the couple in Medicaid. And if you want to start planning for your care down the road, because you don't need it today doesn't mean you won't need it at some point in time. So all of those assets can be beyond 5 years, be conserved for your family members. So we offer help with every family, and like I say, they're all different. And just keep in mind, when there's an individual, we can still do gifting, but we still have our penalties for individuals only. But we still can, usually, it's a rule of thumb, at least 60% of your total assets can still be saved to give to your family members or whomever you're wanting to give your assets to at the time of your death. So we can, like I say, we can provide a plan specifically for you, and everyone is different. But do be mindful that a lot of individuals also can qualify for VA aid and attendance. And sometimes that helps to fill the gap during your penalty period to help you pay for your penalty time that you're having to pay for your care. You still get Medicaid, but you have to pay your daily rate. And a lot of times there are other programs like the VA aid and attendance program that can also be very worthwhile in helping you to pay those penalties. But like I say, there's still going to be an amount, and it's usually at least 60% that we can conserve for your family that you won't have to spend down for your care. And then there's another very important role in Medicaid. Medicaid typically says that you can exempt your home. You're not living in it now, but all you have to say is, if I wasn't living here, I plan to return home. That's the only qualification. The market value does have to be, and that would be equity if you don't own your home outright, has to be below $636,000. Now, in the event you have more equity than that, there's still some other solutions. A lot of people do a reverse mortgage so that it buys down their equity and you can still qualify. But if your home, and of course, the market, the real estate market is a big consideration right now, because we do look at market value, not your taxable value. And you can usually find that in your tax rolls. They typically give you an assessed value and they give a market value. And we typically use the value that the tax office uses for that market value. And I know a lot of times, their taxes have been frozen because of their advancing age, but that doesn't enter into this at all. But do be mindful, if you keep the home, that if you do a reverse mortgage, you have to be careful on that, because some of them require that you live in the home. And when you don't live in the home any longer, that they can take that back. So what we do typically on homes is, if you don't plan to sell it right now and use the proceeds for your care, that you do what's called a ladybird deed on that property. Medicaid has a Medicaid estate recovery program, and that's been in place for quite a few years. Texas was the 50th state to sign on to that, because Texas loves homeowners and they did not want to take their homes from them. But we finally signed on to it, our legislature did, because Medicaid is funded 60% federal funds and 40% state funds. That makes a big difference in our budget. So it's a big help to have that. But in the meantime, we have the ladybird deed, which says, if I do a ladybird deed on my home to my son, what that ladybird deed does is that you go file it at the courthouse, and it just sits there dormant, because I still have the right to sell my house, to get a mortgage on it, to do anything I want to with it. But when I go to heaven, my son can take my death certificate and show up down at the county clerk's office, and give them that, and they just sit right there and they change the name on the home to my son, since he's my beneficiary. So these are excellent documents to have. Sometimes we can get our financial situation such that it's maybe has a pay on death limit or something like that to your family members. But if you own property and you don't have the ladybird deed, then you will more than likely have to go to probate to be able to get that document in your name. If you're a couple, or maybe if even one of the couple has expired. In Texas, we have community property, and that means that the husband and wife, it doesn't matter who worked or who sent in the check for the house payment, you both co-own that home. That's our laws. And in that event, you need to be able to, and you can do that before your spouse has passed away, you can still have your spouse give you a deed for their half so that you're the full owner. It sounds a little bit strange, but that's what we do. If one goes in and the other one stays at home, we typically go ahead and do a warranty deed from the one that's going into the facility to the one that remains at home. And then they're the full 100% owner. And you probably don't have to probate your will if you've got everything else in order, where it's co-owned by your beneficiaries or it's all in your name only. And so we just make it so simple for you, both living and beyond living for the family members. And that's why it's so essential that we have Mike with us, because I can tell you where you need to be with your numbers for your resources, but I cannot give you advice on how to cash in that IRA or how to get your stock accounts or whatever liquidated and put in just your name. And that's what we use Mike for, because I'm not going to give you that advice because I'm not an expert on it and he is. And that's why he's part of our team. And that's what makes us so effective for every family. And even if you have your money, you opt to put it into a trust, your money can still earn for you within that trust. And Mike is the one that visits with you and helps you to determine how much you want it to earn. And it's like it comes full circle for you. And he's been working with us. We have all three of us have been together for almost 7 years now, and we speak to groups. We can do, and like I say, we'll meet with any family and talk to you for free. We do presentations for we do a lot of church groups, like to have our group come in and talk to them. And we just meet so many wonderful people and we get so much information out to them. It just does our hearts good to be able to do that. But do keep in mind that Medicaid does allow for you to keep your resources. You do not have to spend them down or give them away. We can always make a plan for you that will work for you. We may have to spend a little bit of your money. Maybe we'll have to spend that 40%, but you're still going to get the care that you need and be able to, to retain as much of your assets as possible. And a lot of times people don't realize that maybe if they have mineral rights, that you can't do a ladybird deed on your mineral rights, and which means that you're still getting the income from them while you're alive, but once you pass away, or you maybe put your mineral rights into your trust, depends on how much they are. That can be income that's coming in every month as well. And so there's a lot of different options that people don't think about. And every state does not allow ladybird deeds, but there are 13 states that do. And even if you're not on Medicaid, those are still wonderful documents. Could keep you from having to do probate, which is the thing about probate, is that it's, anybody can see your probate. They can go into the records and see what kind of assets maybe that you inherited and prey on you. That people look them up. In the age of computers, used to, you had to go down to the county clerk's office and actually go through the records to find all this. But now they're just so readily available to anyone that cares to look. And so that's another attribute of having a trust, is that the trust is totally your business and no one else's. It is private. No one knows what kind of inheritance you leave behind or that you receive. So there are a lot of good things that go on about a trust. A lot of people have family trusts, which are, well, they don't have the walls built around them like an irrevocable trust does, which means if you get into, you know, I'm advancing in age and I don't drive as well as I used to, but if I had an accident and I had my assets in a trust, then I'm only liable for what is readily available to me in the event of a lawsuit, because they cannot go into that irrevocable trust for a settlement. But if you have a family trust, those laws are not sound. And a family trust means I have my assets into a trust, but I manage those myself. That's the difference in an irrevocable trust and a family trust. In an irrevocable trust, you have someone that you trust the most in the world to be your trustee, and they hold the purse strings. So you do have to think about that. It's not like it's not something that's available to your trustee. Your assets within your trust are available to your trustee. So they can always do what they want with the money that's in the trust. But one thing they want is maybe mom wants to go buy shoes, and so she wants $5,000. The trustee has the ability to give mom $5,000 for her to go shoe shopping with. So it's just a great resource, and it's good for many families. So be aware that there are so many different types of programs that we have available for you to help you through this process and to get you to where you need to be. And the good time to start planning for things is before you need them. Start planning if you want to put your assets within an irrevocable trust. Start thinking about that now, because we don't know where our life is going. And in 5 years, we may not be as healthy as what we are now. So, kind of look ahead and let's plan and see what my cats, they broke into my office. I'm at home this morning and they are now walking around on my work table here.
Life is always interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. The little female can break into any doors, it seems like. And the male one, he can reach the doorknob and then she pushes at the bottom. They have always a team effort.
Oh, they're partners. So that's
Yeah.
wonderful. VeeCee, I have a couple questions.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. Okay. So one would be, what documents, I know you mentioned a lot of financial topics. If I were to say, okay, VeeCee, I want to find out about Medicaid, and what documents would I need, or what information would I need to bring with me or to have with me in order to get this process going?
For us to accurately.
Yeah. Okay. So let me say the second one is, can you say a little bit about, I've heard of upon death, Medicaid will try to recover its expenses on the person who passed away. Can you just mention that?
Okay, that's what the Ladybird deed is for, because that's property that they go after. The estate recovery program it's in effect in Texas, but that's what the Ladybird deed does, is that takes that and preserves it, because it's a pre-probate asset. and Medicaid goes to the probate to ask for their money back. When we are doing with a spousal situation, you're exempt from that.
Okay.
There is an exemption for that. And, but we like to do, what we would probably do in the event that it was a spousal case, we'll get the institutionalized spouse to give their half to the spouse that remains in the community. And then you can set up a ladybird deed because it's all yours then to leave that to someone else. So if you should predecease your spouse, then he doesn't get the house and knock him off Medicaid.
So if you have, and you did mention like many family caregivers are here taking care of parents. So that's when you said that if the beneficiary is stated, then with a ladybird deed in place, then the son or daughter could just go and
Yes.
get.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Exactly.
Just sure about that. So, okay. And then back to the documents.
Okay. What we make, especially if we work with families that are interested in trust, we work with a little bit different type of legal documents. And we like to review your legal documents and a lot of times, like we're dealing with a spouse in a spousal situation, if we've got our wills drawn up to leave each other the assets, then we like to redo those as well because, we drive in Austin traffic and everything. So the institutionalized spouse, and I have many people that live in nursing homes 6, 7, 8 years. It's not a death sentence. Like people think if I go to a nursing home, I'm just going to die. And I still have people that live there many, many years. So there's really something to be said for the care there. But what we do, though, ideally, is to try and get everything situated to where if something happened to the spouse in the community, it would not knock the spouse in the nursing facility off Medicaid. We don't want them to inherit anything. We've been able to transfer the assets so that they don't have assets in their name to keep them on Medicaid. And so we like to set up the legal documents where they carry that out so that once they're on Medicaid for life. And so we do a little bit different type of legal documents where it gives you the ability to set up trust for, your power of attorney. It also allows you to do self-dealing, which sometimes there's questions with the bank or somebody like that when you have the power of attorney. They say, well, we can't let you self-deal. And you say, well, my power of attorney allows me to self-deal. It's drawn up that way. And that way you can take all of those assets and put them in your trust. Ideally, they are safe and they already have beneficiaries within the trust. So a lot of times when we do your legal documents, many times you won't have to go to probate. If you've got a trust, we've got the beneficiaries within the trust, and whoever your trustee is at the time of your death, they take look at who gets half or whatever the percentages are, and whoever your trustee is at the time of your death, they just write a check to each of the beneficiaries, and that dissolves the trust. Nobody knows about it. It's easily done. You don't have to wait for a court date or anything like that. So what we can do for you in looking at your legal documents, and we like to review those, if there's something that we think could make them better, then Keith will advise you of that. But he looks at everyone's legal documents, and we always we call it kind of a happy meal deal with our legal documents, in that you can when you get your will, at the same time that you get your powers of attorney, and there's 5 documents that we recommend. And if you do them at the same time, we can do each of your powers of attorney and your designation of burial and that sort of thing. We can do each of those for $100. So we do that so everyone will have their documents. It's more affordable, and we want everyone to have their legal documents to protect them and to be able to have someone that can act on your behalf in the event that you need it. But keep in mind, you can, especially on a medical power of attorney, as long as you're able to take care of your own medical needs, it doesn't come into play. It only comes into play when you are unable to make a medical decision, or your doctor feels that your illness is such that you can't make a decision. And then you have someone there that not only can they make that decision for you, but we have a HIPAA document within there that you can look at the medical records to make the decision for your loved one. So it's really important to have your legal documents in order. Be sure you do that early, because someone has to be able to give you that authority that especially on dementia patients, there's a window on that. And if you've gone beyond and they can't make that decision for themselves, then we just have to do the best we can with what we have. And guardianships are not that much fun. There's a lifetime of going to court to get to spend anything when someone is in a guardianship. And it's costly, and it's incredibly time consuming to have to go to court, to pay a bill, to pay for their care, whatever it is. So we try to look ahead and get everything that you need at your disposal so that you're set up to take care of the situation before it even occurs.
And it looks like Pete has a question, and then Sylvia after Pete.
Okay, Pete, what can I help you with?
Yes, hi. My question is in regard to the Lady Bird Trust. When one goes to set that up, typically, how do your current mortgage company view that? Do they?
Okay, it doesn't have anything to do with it. It doesn't take the mortgage away or anything. All it does is they still have a lien on the home, which the new owners would be responsible for.
I guess the second part of that is because I've also come across what's called a TOD, or a transfer on death type
Yes.
method.
We still use the ladybirds for the most part because those have been around longer and they're tried and true. And the transfer on death deed can only be done by the individual, not your power of attorney. Does that make sense? And a lot of times we get a spouse that can't make their own decision about that. You can, as their power of attorney, can sign that ladybird deed for them. You cannot sign the transfer on death deed. The transfer on death is a statute that came along after ladybird deeds were here. They decided to make a statute. So that's the difference in them. The main difference is that a power of attorney cannot sign off on a transfer on death deed, but they can on a ladybird deed.
You mentioned the Lady Bird deed is only available in 13 states. Of course, Texas is. But
Yes.
what the again, back to the mortgage thing, because that question has come up for me. And if that company is out of state and doesn't recognize or understand or the Lady Bird, again, do they even see that to have a concern?
It is, remember, it's just sitting there not doing anything until your death. So that ladybird deed is sitting there until such time that I take my last breath, and the property still has the mortgage, But if my son owns it, then he's responsible for the mortgage. So it doesn't have any impact on that. You know, you can buy mortgage insurance that will pay off the mortgage at your death. And that's an option too. If you want to have your, if you want your, whoever your beneficiaries are, to have a debt-free home, then you'd need to, you know, look into something like that if you still have a mortgage.
Okay, thank you.
Did that help?
Yes.
Okay. Sylvia?
Yes, hi. I had a question. What is the fee for your services, or are your services free? How would one be able to take advantage of everything that you offer that you told us today?
Okay. I told you we do a free intake for every family. So bring your documents, bring your family members. It's a lot of information. So we have a large conference room. We can accommodate 14 or 15 people. So bring your family members if you want to, people that help you or are interested in you, and come and bring your information, and we can form a plan for you with that particular information and your asset level, your income level, and we can make a plan for you. And that is totally free of charge. So if you want other services, we can, you know, I kind of went over what it is to redo your legal documents. You know, if you get everything we have, it's at $950 each. And if you want to, you know, you've got your will, you got your powers of attorney, you've got designation of burial, and that's where you can assign someone to be responsible for whatever your desires are at your death. And then also we do the physician's authorization, where you can say, if you're found on a ventilator, do you want to have that ventilator left on? And if you want to leave it on for 3 months, or if you want to turn it off after 2 days, or wait until Uncle Charlie gets here from Hawaii, then you can make all those designations on that at that time. So, you know, it's totally contoured to your specific requests and desires. Everything is. And then if you want us to talk about Medicaid services, we tell you exactly what your particular situation would cost. And then if you want to move forward with it, we kind of encourage that the family be involved, so that everyone's on the same page and you don't have someone thinking you're doing something that you're not, and making you worry about it. That way everybody gets the information, and you know up front where you want to be. And that's what we talk to you about. What do you want to happen? And then you can get everything done that you want done, you know, just exactly how you want it. If you want your assets placed in a trust, then we can go through that with you. And like I said, we've got our financial guy, Mike. He's had his own company for 21 years, and he doesn't work for us. We have absolutely no control over how he sets that up. That's between you and him, because I'm not in the financial business and I am not authorized to give you any kind of advice on that. I can, however, give you advice on Medicaid. So, and then Keith takes care, he's very much in tune with Medicaid, but he also knows the legal system and how to make it best for you.
All right. Thank you so much, VeeCee. Were there any other questions or comments from everybody? Because we're going to have to start with the sharing soon.
I was going to say, for those in the business, I do have a networking group that's called the Linked Network, and it's the Austin group. And if you want to join up with us, it's a closed group, but I will approve you. And that is a great way to communicate with other people in the senior care industry. And Dura is so wonderful to provide information. But if you're in the market, in the long-term care market, it's a great place for you to share your events, to share your services and tell what you do. But it's a great way for you to communicate with others and know what's going on. Know how the business is. And we meet once a month for the North group, and then we meet once a month for the South group. And you can come and network and meet a lot of new people.
And I will actually be the speaker on the 20th at Beckett Meadows.
Yes. And I am not gonna, I always come to Mike's too, but I am gonna have to go out of town and take care of my ex-husband. He's having surgery. So I will miss that. And I'm so sad. I'll get you to speak at my group too.
All
I
right.
love that.
I have an additional question.
Okay.
Whether address it to you or Dura or one of the other
Caretakers.
people in the business, so to speak. And it's one I wrestle with, and I know there's no easy answer. Okay. The bulk of my resources is in my name in an IRA. Okay. And after having visited a number of memory care, assisted living type facilities, these are fairly costly facilities. And I guess what I wrestle with is placement of my wife when it comes to the need to do that.
Yeah.
Sure, I could do some time in a memory care, spending some of the IRA, of course, have to pay taxes on that. Again, this is all of it's in my name.
Mm-hmm.
And because in talking with my financial planner, I try to wrestle with how much I can afford to spend down, or if I need to examine that part of it at all before moving to a Medicaid type bed. Again, this is a difficult question, I understand. What are some of the factors that I should be considering in that regard?
Well, I think it would benefit you greatly to come in and let us sit down and analyze your situation for you. Now, in Medicaid, although your IRA is in your name, it comes into play. Medicaid says it's half yours and half your wife's. So you can't isolate that and just put that in, we can take it out and put it in a trust for you. But
and still be within the IRA to avoid the tax part of it?
No, IRAs are individually owned. The trust cannot own an IRA. But Michael can set up a way for you to maybe move half of it in this year, half of it in next year, reduce your taxes. But what he typically tells everyone is that IRA, maybe it looks like it's worth $500,000, but you always have your tax requirement. So it's not really $500,000. Maybe it's $420,000. And you have to keep that in mind. But you still need to, and he has some wonderful tools to where some people can move it to a different product and still have tax advantages. So it would be a great benefit for you to meet with us and let Michael tell you how he can handle that and what your options are in so doing. Because, it sounds like it's taking a lot out of it, but if you realize that's a requirement, you really don't have 500,000. You've got the 500,000 less the taxes. because
Right.
that's the type of vehicle you took. So it's not like you're losing, you're just not getting what you thought you wanted to get. You're always going to have to pay taxes on it. But there are some other things that are coming along that are beneficial to move assets into that have a greater tax advantage than others. And obviously I'm not the financial person, but I do hear Michael visit with our families, and they have some other options. So it doesn't cost you anything to visit with us, like I say, and see
And-
what we can offer.
And I'll jump in there just a little bit, Pete. From the community perspective, when you're looking at resources and deciding on where a location that you would want to perhaps have your wife live, I always suggest look at places that have both assisted living and memory care connected, so that you're not paying 2 admission fees or move-in fees. Because if you don't have to, if you're not an elopement risk, if you're not at risk of walking out and not coming back or not being found, you don't necessarily have to pay the costly rate that it is for memory care. You can live successfully with dementia on the assisted living side, and it's less expensive than memory care, and it's less expensive than skilled nursing if you don't have Medicaid. And so, but with dementia, you don't know from one day to the next how it's going to progress. And there may come a time where you actually have to move from assisted living over to memory care. And when you're already in a location that they're comfortable with, the staff is comfortable with them, there's that muscle memory that even though you have dementia, you have that muscle memory of the people that you're used to seeing. And it's a much simpler transition to go from the assisted living side to the memory care side. And that's not an additional fee other than the increase in your monthly rate that you would be paying for memory care. On average, once somebody enters memory care, you can plan for anywhere from 24 to 48 months of having to have expenses for that. So you may not even get to where you have depleted your income because you're paying $3,000 to $4,000 a month for planning of 2 to 3 years, if that helps at all.
Your 24 to 48 months. I mean, what's that based on, or how do you pull that out of?
So on average, when we see somebody enter memory care, their disease process has been going on a lot longer than the day that they enter memory care. And the disease process of dementia, of course, is your body, your entire body is run by the brain. And as the brain starts to shut down, the parts of your brain that control different aspects of your body shut down as well. And so they're looking at an overall average of people that enter memory care that typically you can plan life expectancy of 2 to 3 years, therefore planning budgeting of 2 to 3 years after moving into a memory care. And now that's on average, right? There's some people that are much sooner, some people that are longer. Only, nobody can tell you what that day is going to look like, but on average, that's what they look at when they advise people to consider their financial abilities.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you, VeeCee and
Thank you.
Dura, for answering all the questions. So we always learn so much from you, VeeCee, and with Keith, from Keith when he's joined us. So we will stop the recording in a minute or so. But thank you again for being here. And VeeCee's contact information is in the chat. So please reach out to her if you have any questions. Because it's as a family caregiver, it is part of our responsibility to be educated and informed. And it's not just about medical issues, it's about everything, right? So you get it from the pros who are trusted and knowledgeable. All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Good to see you, VeeCee.